Welcome everyone to the House of Shadows and Ink. Today our guest is the very cool Rafael Canoa, the author of Bloodlines, our very first epic fantasy novel. Welcome, Rafael.
Yeah, so I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. I'm originally from Portugal. I've been here for almost 50 years now. Hard to believe. Um, yeah, I'm basically a full-time writer at the moment. I did a lot of studies in English in post-secondary school, um, and then kind of got drawn into the hospitality business for a long spell. Uh, Bartended for about 25 years, and you definitely get to meet a lot of interesting people and hear a lot of interesting stories, and so and yeah, eventually got tired of that. Decided to go back to school. Not an easy thing to do when one gets older and your brain starts being less able to absorb new things, but kind of decided to get back to my passion, which was the English language, and became a certified editor. And then just started doing some freelance contract work, copy editing and copywriting. And amidst all of that, I have finally decided to get serious about writing my first book, which is kind of began as an idea in terms of the storyline back in the mid 90s, been playing Dungeons and Dragons for since mid 80s, and at one point I just kind of grew dissatisfied with the established campaign settings that TSR, the publisher of Dungeons and Dragons at the time, was putting out. So I decided, hey, why don't I just create my own world and make my own kind of set of internal rules and just go from there. So just started with a set of maps, just drew some maps, and then decided, well, let's find out who lives here and what do these people do and what's this place about. And so just began to develop a long-term campaign out of that, and that turned into a whole bunch of notes. Started to compile those into very, very early day computer files using WordPerfect, if anyone remembers that from back in the day, and then translating those into Microsoft Word eventually. And anyways, it just kind of took on a life of its own, and a lot of that stuff had just been sitting around for years. We just kept playing, and the adventures kept developing, and the world kept getting bigger and bigger. And then eventually I just decided, hey, wouldn't it be neat to just kind of take all this and actually write a story, a cohesive narrative out of all this material. So it's not necessarily based on the adventures that me and my players had, but there's a lot of that DNA of their places they went to and some of their characters. And of course, I needed to change a lot of things because this is my own work, and I wanted to uh, fully transform that into my narrative. So it was a slow and long process. Took a few years to get there. Definitely, if I want to continue being an author, I know you gotta try and crank out the books a little quicker than it took me to get to the first one, but I also don't want to sacrifice quality over quantity, let's say. So yeah, so Bloodlines is the first book in the series that I'm not yet sure how long it's going to be. Most likely a trilogy. Maybe it might be 4 books. Feeling I have is that I'll stop when I feel that the story is done. So there's not a set plan to confine it to a set number of books. I'm just going to keep writing until I think we get there.
For those who don't know, one of our editors contacted me. One of our we have a lot of freelance editors contacted me and said she worked with this author on an epic fantasy novel, and although we don't normally publish, well, we've done some dark fantasy, some demons and all kinds of stuff because it relates closely to horror. But at Crystal Lake Publishing, like, I'm a fan of good stories. Like, man, I don't care what genre it is. I don't care if it's a comic book, a movie, a game, whatever, as long as it's a good story. And I think over time, people have realized what my taste is. And I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. You can see my Lord of the Rings behind me somewhere. Ooh, I think I borrowed it to my sister. And then basically, she said, "No, take a look at this book. It's a massive book. I mean, we normally cut off at like 90 to 110,000 words. I think yours is over 200,000 words, and this is the first installment." And I was like, "Man, are you serious?" And I looked at this book, and I like fell in love. Like the story, but also the way you wrote it. It just took me back to the fantasy books that we read when we were young. Not overly complicated. It's just a great story, great characters. So tell us a bit about your three main characters, and then we'll deep dive in from there.
Okay, so we've got the three, like you said. The first one is Flynn, who is a young boy who starts the book at age 12. And he goes through a very traumatic experience right in the first chapter. I kind of decided to basically take the main protagonist and just throw them into a situation almost immediately and have some adversity almost from the start to kind of just emphasize that, it's a fantasy world and it's not a world that it's like how the author wants it to be, but it's a world where bad things can and will happen, and it doesn't wait for anyone. So from the beginning, Flynn is thrust into this situation with the loss of his parents. That kind of really just it's the triggering event for a whole bunch of things that are going to happen to him, and how you follow his journey and how he has to deal with this, having his world turned upside down. The second character that we meet is Vurax, who is not actually human. He is a minotaur, and yeah, that was one of those things that a lot of fantasy books have. You can call it a trope, even, where we have these fantasy worlds that are populated by a multitude of races other than human beings. I've loved that since the beginning, since reading The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, and I definitely wanted to incorporate that into my story. Don't get me wrong, like if you read or watch the show for Game of Thrones, for example, obviously they only have humans, and that's such an amazing epic story in of itself. But I like that added dimension of having different species and conflicts that can arise there from. So Vorax is when we first meet him, he's a slave. He's actually been enslaved by human raiders, which is a bit of it's kind of reversal of roles, because in my world, the Minotaurs themselves are the ones that enslave others, and with that, it can be a bit of a touchy topic in today's world. I definitely don't make it like it's a casual thing or anything like that. It's a very serious topic, and I do tackle those issues in the book. But as I said, he starts out as a slave, and he gains his freedom very shortly into the novel. And then he is basically, as he's going back to his land, it's that classic tale of a stranger and a strange one, where he doesn't feel like he doesn't belong because he's been away from it so long and been forced to live in a certain way that he's a stranger among his own people. So, and then there are other things going on with him that are causing him to question a lot of things about himself and his life. And yeah, so the third character that we meet is Eliana, and she is a young lady of about I think 18 years of age, and she two, both like Flynn and Vorax, and you'll start to see a common thread that connects these characters as you get deeper into the novel, is that she too has lost her parents. But she actually has very little to no memory of her former life. And she basically wandered out of a forest and into the hands of a kindly old dwarven farmer that took her in and basically adopted her as his granddaughter. And she is being she's been having this dream that is recurring. I mean, it's basically been happening every night for the last few years of her life, and she doesn't know what it means, only that it continues to happen. And one day it just suddenly stops, and it's the night that it stops is the night that it actually ends differently. It's the only time that she can remember the dream being any different. So there has to be some significance to that. So she sets out to try and find answers, like why don't I remember where I came from or who I am? What is this dream about? What is the meaning, like, and the words that she hears? So we follow her story along as she tries to basically figure out the answers to these questions. So it's, for all three characters, it's a journey of self-discovery and coming to terms with things that they're finding out about themselves, and it's all going to lead to something very big down the road.
And I mean, every book needs an antagonist, not always in human form. So without giving away too much, like, who is the big bad guy here?
So you may notice, you may get to the end of the novel and ask that very question. There isn't someone traditional, like, you don't have the Dark Lord like in the Lord of the Rings. You don't have Smaug the dragon like you do in the Hobbit. There isn't the presence of the White Walkers like you do in Game of Thrones. But there's almost this palpable undercurrent of menace in the way that you start to get hints of some form of I'll call it divine manipulation going on behind the scenes, that something is gearing up to happen, and that these three particular characters and perhaps others that are out there are being moved like chess pieces on a
Good word.
board
I was thinking the
in a
same thing.
game that it's a game that they're not quite aware of, and what their particular role is going to be is, again, something that they're trying to understand and find out. So
Nice.
there's no out and out revelation of who the antagonist is or what forces are at work, but that will become that will develop and become a lot clearer as we continue on to this with the story.
I'll just refer to it as the dark side for now. Okay, so
Yes.
clearly I can see in the background as well, and I know we've talked about this. You are a big Lord of the Rings fan. You're a big fantasy fan. I mean, you have quite the collection that I've seen. So, want to share more about that? Because I mean, this is your research. This is like your passion, your love. This is what motivates you.
Totally. So, I've been a bit of a collector since my early days. Like, since being a kid, I had a ton of Lego sets and just kind of let my imagination run wild and build stuff like that. But it wasn't until I got into Dungeons and Dragons, and I right away, because I was the dungeon master, so I felt the need to have as many little props as you could have to put on the table. And in the early days, the game was very much based on just using your imagination. You just had a pen or a pencil and paper and some square grids, and you draw little maps. And it's such a storytelling based game that really relies on the dungeon master to give such a rich and imaginative description to their players that they can visualize all of that in their minds, because there weren't really many visual props back in the day for that kind of thing. But there were already like, you could buy like a little like a rollout map that you could put on the table. You can buy they used to be made out of lead back in the 80s. in 70s, miniatures that you could use to represent your characters. So I started really getting into that early on to just help the players really see the situation before them. And that throughout the years expanded into like quite a collection of just D&D paraphernalia. But the love for collecting things actually more like tangible in the sense of some of the things that you see behind me from the Lord of the Rings. That really came about when the Peter Jackson movies came out in 2000, 2001, 2002. Or sorry, it was 2001, 2002, 2003. Um, the movie adaptations of the Lord of the Rings. Shortly thereafter, there were a couple of companies that acquired licenses to make props, and so like the weapons you see behind me and some of those statues. I just really became fascinated with that, and it just it was finally I had this uh, visual representation of all of these characters that I'd had in my mind for years, and I think Peter Jackson did such a great job bringing
Oh
them to
yes.
life on the screen that I wanted to have. Said I want that in my collection, so I started to just amass this vast repository of uh, like my wife calls it, yeah, you like the hoard, don't you? And I said, no, hoarders hoard like things that have no value. They're just attached to them. These are my treasures, and
Yes.
uh, yeah. So this is the room that I'm sitting in right now is where we actually play our Dungeons and Dragons game, and I created it to just really invoke that feeling that you're stepping into Middle Earth and or a fantasy world when we're playing our game. So it just becomes much more immersive that way. So,
One recommendation for your game nights: get like
mhm.
a hidden switch under your desk or something with connected to speakers, and then when you need like thunder or
Mm.
rain or anything, you just press a button and there's the sound effects playing on hidden speakers somewhere in the room.
Yes.
Some
Yeah, I have thought of
epic
that.
music playing when they win the campaign or something. Yes, that would be cool.
Hmm.
Okay. So clearly, I mean, this all started for you at a young age. Like, what is your first memory of, like, whether it's books, comic books, like what drew you to fantasy, to that era of, the knights in the shiny armor?
Right. Um, yeah, I mean, growing up in the 70s, there wasn't a lot of focus on that. It was more science fiction based. So that was my first passion. And I just loved Star Trek and Star Wars throughout that early age and into my early teens. But it was that all changed in grade 10 in high school. I had already moved to Canada. I moved here and started grade 9. And then in grade 10 in my English class, I like you normally get assigned a novel or two throughout the school year to read
Mm.
and do your papers on. Uh, and my particular class didn't get assigned that book. By chance, somebody must have forgotten their copy under the desk, and I put my hand under there for whatever reason, and I felt the shape of a book, and I pulled it out,
Oh,
and it was The Hobbit. And
thank goodness.
yeah, I know it was the moment that changed my life.
Sure.
And it's the funny thing is actually that that wasn't the first time I'd seen something with the name Hobbit on it. About 4 years prior to that, or was it 2 years? I don't know. I think it was 81 or 82. Anyone that remembers the early years of computing, there was a very, I think this was before like the Commodore 64. There was a small computer called the ZX Spectrum made by Sinclair. And a friend of mine had it, and he got a one of those text and graphic adventures on
Mm.
it. I don't know if you ever heard of like
Yes.
games like Zork and stuff like
Mm.
that. Yeah, and there was one for The Hobbit, and I played it. I loved it, um, and the entire time, because there's not a whole lot of description in an 8-bit game in the early 80s. But I played the whole thing wondering, like, just what the heck is a hobbit, and who is Thorin, and what is Gandalf? Um, and then just kind of forgot about it. And then when I found this book, I'm like, I've seen this word before. And then that came back to my memory. Oh, that's the one about, the round green door and the creature golem that follows you around, and that gold ring that makes you invisible. And I thought to myself, I got to read this. I didn't even bother trying to find out who that book belonged to or turned it into the teacher. I just put it in my bag and took it home.
Nice.
And that was the beginning. And I consumed it in a matter of a day or two. It's not a very thick book. And I loved it. And then just by chance, I happened to talk about it to a friend in school later that year. And he looked at me and said, "Oh, did you know there's a sequel?" And I was like, "What?" No way. He says, "Yeah." So we walked down to the library in the school, and really among the stacks, and he pulled it out, and it's the version that comes with 3 volumes. And he said, "Yeah, it's the Lord of the Rings. It's the sequel to The Hobbit, and it's way more serious." And I'm like, "Oh, I gotta know more about this," and that's how it all began.
Yes. Oh, I love that book. I've actually seen a first edition in like a glass cabinet kind of thing. But back when I saw it, I didn't really appreciate it as much as I would if I saw it today. Like it was like, oh, it's a first edition of a book, but I think I was like 17 or 18. I didn't grow up with it as a kid. We only knew, Knights of the Round Table, those kinds of
Right.
fantasy. This was in Namibia now, so I mean, we didn't even have um, Dungeons and Dragons and all that stuff. I know in South Africa, by like the West Coast, like Cape Town, they were pretty big on, I think, Warhammer, but I'm not sure what year that started. But yeah, I missed out on that for sure. Like every time people talk about it, they like epic Dungeons and Dragons adventures and game nights and stuff like that's. I'm not a jealous person, but they get me every time. But I mean, I'm still alive. There's time.
Oh yeah, no,
I
it's
just
never
need
too late to
someone.
get into that. I mean,
I just need someone experienced to take me on board and teach me and all that stuff. So, but
it's too bad you don't live over here. But
I've heard of people
and
doing
speaking
it
of that, it's like,
online.
I mean, you live where Tolkien was born.
Yes, same city. I actually
Same
went
city,
looking
yeah.
for the house. It doesn't exist anymore, but I've found the relative like r- radius of it, like where it was, and it's not far from where I live now. It's like 1 mile basically. Yeah. So hey, some connection with the great the
Yep,
great one.
that's very cool. As soon as
That's
I
so
saw
cool.
the name of the town or city where
Mm.
Crystal Lake is based, I'm like, wow, okay, that can't be coincidence. It was meant to be.
Meant to be for
It
sure.
was meant to be.
So
Yeah.
when did you? Like I say, you were writing some campaigns for like Dungeons and Dragons or whatever. But when did you
Mhm.
actually consider writing as a craft, as something? I mean, did you learn or did you just start writing? Did you like do any workshops, reading?
No, it was just um
Nice.
like writing essays in school. It just kind of came naturally to me.
It helps when
It
you
wasn't
read a
always
lot
that I would.
as well. So
Pardon
it
me?
helps. It helps when you read a lot, especially in your
Oh
genre.
yes, yes.
Well, all the genres
No,
actually
yeah.
helps, but so because I mean
Um,
I know that it was already edited before I saw it, but I mean
mhm.
that was really good writing. That's not, and I mean I've read some submissions that didn't even come close to that by authors whose this is like their third or fourth book, and I mean this is a big book. Like, how did you stay motivated? I mean, did you ever have like from imposter syndrome to what's the blank page looking back at you, that kind of thing, writer's block?
Like writer's block. No, well, imposter syndrome is I'm suffering that right now because this it's in my hands and it still doesn't quite feel real that it's
Mm.
happened. So that's ongoing. Motivation. I mean, I probably started writing this in a serious fashion. I think around 2018, 2019. So it's been at it quite a few years now in
Mm.
fits and starts. It's a friend of mine really helped me. He's also a writer and he does a lot of like motivational work and helping people overcome obstacles and just the perfect thing for when you're uh, feeling a bit insecure about
Mm.
oh, what am I why am I doing this? Like who's gonna read this? Will people even like it? There's a lot of self-doubt when you start to write. Um, and he really helped me, just telling me to keep at it, and it's just like think of it as there's a job that you have to go to every morning.
Mm.
You have to make this, of course it has to be enjoyable, so it has to be a job that you like, because if you write and you start to hate it, then there's just no point, because that's going to come out in your writing and
Yep.
you're not going to want to do it. So it has to be something that you love to do, but you really have to discipline yourself to make it almost like a schedule. So get up in the morning, do whatever you need to
Mm.
do, sit down, try to eliminate as many distractions as you can. Take this and put it face down and just ignore, um, and just keep at it. And he said that uh, pick pick a number of hours that you're comfortable with to start, and begin to increase that throughout the day if you can. If you can't, then that's fine. Um, and even if it's an hour or two and you do nothing but sit and stare at the screen and you don't put a single word down, just know that you put in that time and that you were
Mm.
thinking about it. And if the words don't come, that's fine. That's still part of the process. Don't beat yourself up over it because you had no ideas that day. Or another thing that you can do is just write down whatever comes to mind. Just have like a stream of consciousness flow, and
Sure.
uh, from all of that gibberish, there might be one or two gems in there that you can pull out and then use. Um, Actually, I tried that and it didn't work. I'm very, what's the word? I want to say OCD. Like, I feel like if I'm gonna write something down, it has to be meaningful. And I don't write a page or a chapter and then go back and clean it up and edit. I do that sentence by sentence. I'll type out the sentence, and if it doesn't come out the first come right, sorry, if it doesn't come out right the first time, then I go back and fix it until I'm happy, and then I move on. So I
Okay.
write very sequentially that way. But yeah, and then of course with writer's block, I mean that's natural. I would take a day or two, or sometimes I just couldn't write. Sometimes that would stretch into a week, or even longer. But the key was to always talk myself into coming back.
Mm.
At one point, it became a challenge. It was like a challenge that I just told myself, look, it doesn't matter at this point whether this book ever gets published, whether anyone but my wife and a friend or two ever lay eyes on it and read it. I wanted to challenge myself to just complete it, just to finish it
Mm.
was my main goal. Um, this even came across your desk. That was something that I really had never imagined. Um, kind of looked into it a little bit, and I always understood like it's a difficult process
Oh,
because there's
yes.
so much out there. It's just like it's trying to get a script up, picked up in Hollywood kind of thing. Um, because there are a lot of people with ideas, a lot of people writing, a lot of people submitting, and to have something just float to the top, it can be discouraging, to be
Mm.
honest. And it's not that I'm saying it's your fault because you guys probably get so much stuff, and you have to sift through a lot, and you really want to take a chance on something that you think
Mm.
um, will actually be appealing to readers. It can't just be anything. And So part of the challenge is telling yourself that what you're doing is good enough. Like, first of all, you have to be happy with it, and then gain that confidence that someone else may read this and may actually like it. But yeah, my first goal was just to finish, and then, hey, let's take a chance here and see if anybody else wants and thinks that this is good. But honestly, I was truly convinced that I would have to self-publish and just try to get out there in some fashion. So yeah.
Excellent. Now, I'm
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the saying, just show up every day. And that doesn't mean writing 1,000 words. You're in your office, you sit down, you're focused on the story. I mean, that could be like running scenarios through your head, writing the first draft in your head, whatever, like picturing the characters meeting up for the first time, put in the work. Everything else is just consistency doing its job. It's like, I mean, becoming better, like skill, what some people call luck, success, all of that stuff is like the byproduct of just showing up and treating it like a job, being professional. I have to go to work. Like, you don't have a choice. It's like your real job. If you don't show up, you're going to get fired, kind of thing. But you love your job so much. And you give yourself, those little rewards every time you finish. Just give yourself a bonus every now and then.
Yeah.
Especially with a long book like that. I mean, I've seen authors struggle with novellas. And I mean, you went straight into the monster, and I mean, you finished it. That is an amazing accomplishment. I mean, a lot of people want to write a book and they don't get to the 60,000 word mark even. And I mean, you went way past that. And it's not just this long stretched out story. I mean, there's a lot going on there. Like, this is a world that you created, characters, cultures, I mean, politics, everything is there. So well done. I have no idea how you
Thank
did
you.
that the first time around. Like, so how long after the acceptance did you start working on like continuing the story?
Well, funny thing there is that see, in terms of the length, I actually thought the book was short because I had no understanding of what, let's say, a word on a typed page on your screen in Microsoft Word, how that translates to
To a
a
page.
page on the book, especially a small paperback. So I was sort of guiding myself by the books on my shelf, pulling out an average fantasy novel that's, somewhere between 350 to 450 pages, and in a book that's, a smaller size than mine physically. So I was kind of guiding myself by that. So when I was actually well over what there is right now. I think I was approaching 500 typed pages in Word. I don't recall exactly at what point I thought that this might be too long. I think I had gone because I wanted to do an equal amount of chapters on each character, and I had far more material on one of them than I hit the other two. And when I began to start to write the other two parts in order to match what I had for the third, that's when I started to realize this might be a bit too much. And then yeah, I think it was when I first was in touch with you guys, it was with the editor that got me in touch with you, that I realized that I think I need to trim some of this out. So the book could have actually been longer. And it's funny because you and your staff that I've been working with have said that a few times, and I'm like, it doesn't feel that long to me, honestly. I could have just kept going. And a lot of what I took out, like the so-called deleted scenes, are actually, I'm like, well, I got a good head start on book 2 now. So I've got about a third of that done already, because I cut out so much that I'm just gonna put into the next novel. So yeah, it's
Oh, that's excellent. No, I think the reason, like everyone on this side, is like, we the longest thing we've done is probably like 140,000 words, I think. So I mean, this is like a big jump for us. But I mean, for fantasy, for especially epic fantasy, I mean, it's basically
Yeah,
the
it's
norm
not that
almost.
unusual.
It's not
Yeah.
unusual. Yes, I mean, I've read
You,
first books in a series that start out 700 pages kind of thing.
you,
And we're used to it. If you know what you're getting into, especially if there's an entirely new world being built, and you want to like
mhm.
immerse yourself in everything, the characters, the world, the setting, descriptions. It's, no, it's very cool. And for me, especially, I struggle when there's too many characters. So Game of Thrones, I
Mm.
had a bit of it. I finished the first book, but I mean, by the time I got to just look at the second book, like in the bookstore, I was like, man, who are these people again? I can't even remember. So they lost me, but I could keep track with your characters. Maybe they're just like very
Okay.
individually strong, but it was so much easier for me to keep track of everyone. Um, yes. So, any other like authors' books that you read while you were writing this, like to motivate you to, es- especially authors, specific authors that stood out?
Uh, Gosh, I've really unfortunately stopped reading quite a bit. As I was, as I remarked to Anita during our interview in the House of Shadows and Ink, is
Oh,
you almost feel. I feel that now watching shows on TV and movies because so much of our experiences through life have influenced us in a way that it comes out in our writing.
uh-huh.
Our brains are like sponges, and we can't help but take a lot of what we've seen and heard and read and put that into our writing, and it's impossible not to do. And of course, you don't want to do it in a way that it's like, oh, that's totally that show, or like you don't want to do that. That's not your own
True.
work. So you have to. It's okay to have those influences, but you have to make the story your own and the characters your own, and change enough things that you're not writing just copycat. You're lifting something from someone else and taking
Mm,
credit for it. So not only was writing taking up a lot of my free time that I would normally have for just reading, um, I also started to become afraid of picking up on other ideas. Like, oh, I have this really cool idea, and I was
is
almost
it
afraid to
original?
open up a book and find it somewhere else and think
Mm,
like, oh man, somebody did that, and now I as it is, like I'll watch something now and think, oh, that's so similar to what I have in my book. But it makes me feel okay because I know that I wrote that before I saw whatever it is that's new. So, um, and somebody might say, oh, that thing in Raphael's book is just like that show. But I can say, no, I wrote this before. I got the time stamped files here to prove it. Um, yeah, I'm struggling to think of an author or a book that I really that I read or really enjoyed in the whole time that I've actually begun to seriously put finger to keyboard and get this um, book done. Uh, which I really regret because I have bookshelves full and full of fantasy books. I've actually bought some new books in this period of time that I've yet to get to. Um, Again, because of time and just being so busy with the launch of this book and writing it and
mm,
whatnot. And
same.
yeah, I really want to get back to reading, but yeah, there's that fear that, oh, I'm gonna subconsciously absorb some of what I'm reading, and then that's gonna show up in my own writing, and I don't know.
Well, subconsciously is
But
fine. What I've seen a lot
yeah,
of authors who read a lot say is, now I know exactly what is out there. I've done my research.
mm,
I see what authors enjoy, but I still make it my what readers enjoy, but I still make it my own. I'm up to date with
right.
what's out there, but I mean, staying up to date is difficult. There's a lot of new books coming every day, and I mean, I'm just focused on
Mm,
like two or three genres. I mean, there's so many others, and in different languages even, and different formats, like from comic books to games,
Hmm.
movies, series, whatever. And there are going to be similarities. I think it's still going to be original because it's going to be, like you said, whatever everything you take in, but you still mix it with your personality, where you are in your life right now, your life and worldview, all of that stuff, self story. A lot of people call it, and
Hmm.
whatever's going to come out, it's going to be your version of it.
Right.
So as long as the the names and everything isn't exactly similar, um, you're good to go. So I mean,
Hmm. No, I've actually just thought of a book series that I did read in the period of time. So there's if you're familiar with Terry Brooks,
awesome.
he's written a long running, like I think he began in like the late 70s with the Sword of Shannara.
Mm,
And he's been writing books in that series, usually self-contained trilogies or groups of 4 books that are all set in the same world and just kind of follow this family over generations in the world that he created. And I think at last count, actually, I think he's stopped now because he said this was going to be his last series set in that world. But there's over 30 novels
sure.
set in the Shannara world. So not uh, 2-3 years back, he published that final trilogy. So I do, because I've been very faithfully since the beginning following that storyline. I was very interested in, so I made the time to pick up those
Mm,
books and see how this entire saga was going to conclude. Uh, so there you go. So the I think it was called the Scar Invasion or something like that.
mm.
And it's the final series of the Shannara World by Terry Brooks would have been
I
my.
remember there was a television series, but it didn't
Yeah,
gain a
yeah.
lot of popularity.
No,
It's
it wasn't.
tricky when when the book is there and there's like a
Yeah, it
strong
wasn't
fan
very
base.
good
Mm,
in my humble opinion. I didn't. I watched. There were 2 seasons. I watched the first, which was based on his second book, not the first one. Um, and I think it started out okay, but yeah, it
mm,
was. You could tell it was geared to a much younger
mm,
audience, which
true.
unfortunately a lot of yeah people in
I'm
Hollywood
really
and
struggling
networks.
these days with like
Yeah,
even
it's hard
Wednesday,
to
like
relate.
exactly like school-based kids, teenagers. Like I try to avoid them now. I'm not gonna spend time reading or watching too much of it. But yes, I
Yeah.
mean, amazing author, like legendary stuff. So
Mhm.
yes, so now you're well on your way with the second book. I'm already
Mhm.
saving monies to get an editor for that one because I know it's going to keep someone very busy. It's a big task, but I mean, I'm on board with this. Like, and I mean, for those watching now, we are looking at game books as well. We're looking at games. I mean, this is a series that we're gonna really invest time and money and everything in, and I think it's definitely going to be worth people's time to at least check it out, see if they connect with the characters as much as we did, and uh,
Mhm.
and see where this world takes us. Because I think this is going to be a very successful run. Um, Success might vary depending on what your definition of success is, but I mean, a quality product for a readership that really loves it, the size of that readership, whatever comes will come. I mean, it's like we said, show up, do the work. The rest is just we'll see what happens. But I mean, I'm loving it. So I'll play. If it doesn't become a television series, I'll make up my own one in my mind. So and I'll watch it there. Uh,
Right
no,
on.
this is very cool. I hope people give it a chance. And yes, so good luck writing it, researching it,
Thank you.
spending time, play some D&D campaigns with it, test some adventures out with your team of players and
Mhm.
those characters. And who knows, we'll 3D print out maybe some of the characters and just start going from there. Sharing
Like a
more of the
plan.
world with readers. I love that. No, that's cool. Well,
That's
any
good.
any last advice to authors who, like, for instance, how you felt when you're like, man, I can turn this stuff into a book. Like, any advice on where to start, what not to do for any new authors?
Uh, well, again, you just have to have have faith in yourself. Um, Believe in what you're doing. And again, even if the end goal isn't to, don't think about getting published and being successful. Just concentrate on getting the task done.
Mm,
It's not a race to the end. I mean, it could take you a long time, like it did for me. You could do it very quickly. Some people are just amazingly fast writers, and quality can come with that. Um, but again, the advice that I give is to just make yourself come back.
mm,
Don't become discouraged. And life being what it is has ways of interfering and derailing you at times, and it's okay. It's okay to step away. Uh, your work isn't going to go anywhere. Um, so on that note, though, back up your files.
oh,
Make sure you've always got a
please,
backup
please.
somewhere. I've had a couple of moments where, oh no, what did I do? And yeah. So
Mm,
cloud storage is your friend. Um, but yeah, like I said, belief in yourself, and if you feel like walking away, it's okay to do it for a while, but don't, and come back. And don't. It's easy to become discouraged, but if you have what you think is a great idea, just put it down. Write down your thoughts. Come back and look at them again with the clear mind the next day, or think, oh, this is garbage, or no, I can turn this into something. And not everything that you're going to write is going to be great. But eventually, if you keep at it, um, there are parts that you're going to start to put together, and before you know it, there's a story there.
mm,
Um, and then it becomes like the writing is like it's a muscle, and it's like going to the gym, and you got to keep at it. You got to have that discipline and continue to work out that muscle, and it becomes easier. It just becomes easier. Before you know it, it's a habit. Like you have to turn it into a habit. So that's how I got there, and I'm very happy. Yeah.
And I'll add that there will be resistance. There will be self-doubt and
Hmm.
all that. Like, know that from the start, because
Oh yeah.
it's the resistance that, like, change doesn't come easy, success doesn't come easy, nothing worth doing comes easy. And just like going
Hmm.
to the gym, resistance is what eventually allows your muscles to grow and you become fit. So it's the same with writing. Without the resistance, you're never going to get better. So this is part of the
Precisely.
process. Like, you're in it with, and you're not alone. Like, the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome. Everyone, I mean, every author I work with, talk with, interview, it's the same thing. And the moment that we all realize we're going through it together, and I mean, this is in any industry, not just creative stuff like acting and writing and all that stuff. People have
Hmm.
imposter syndrome because you see this, you look up to someone who maybe, like, whether it's a father figure or someone who did this 10, 20 years ago, a legend in the field. You only see the outside persona, the success and all that. You don't see the struggles. You don't see the, like, the thought processes and all the struggles they went through as well. Until you actually talk to people and find out we're all going through the same stuff. So there will be resistance in anything we do that we're passionate about. So just make sure you're
Hmm.
passionately enough about it. So that's the main thing. Thank you, Rafael. This has been awesome. I hope
Thank
everyone
you, Joe.
enjoyed this. We love chatting with you and hearing about your books. I don't want to dive too much into it, the world, but I mean, we talk about the characters. Uh, just a quick summary. There's lots of swords. There's like, what else? Sorcery, magic. What else can we expect
Lots of
from
magic, definitely.
Bloodlines?
And yeah, it's a world where magic is it's common enough that it's accepted. It's an integral part of life.
Mm.
It's a world that's feels familiar in certain ways because it's it's a medieval setting. So there's, you know, knights in shining armor and castles and things like that. But there are also other species like elves and dwarves and minotaurs. There's even talk of a dragon or two mythical creatures from the past. There's elements of the supernatural which will appeal to a lot of your readership with horror and dark. There will definitely be a lot of exploration into the netherworld, so be prepared for that. Um, but yeah, it's a world of high adventure and political intrigue and the threat of war and dangerous monsters and sometimes the worst ones, which are the ones we carry within, and betrayal can come from where you least expect it, which could be the friend next to you or the god that you've spent your life worshiping. It's a world of many gods. There's many different cultures, many different beliefs, and there are many different gods with different philosophies that are worshipped. So there's a lot of cause for conflict among these different religions. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Now people are in for one heck of a ride. I can vouch for that. So, thanks again.
Buckle in.
For sure. Thanks everyone for watching. Check out Bloodlines. Check out this, like, the entire series. If you're watching this video like 10 years down the line, check out the game books and everything. Check out the movie. It's out next month. So yes. Thanks again. Have an awesome week and good luck with all your projects. Cheers.
Thank you, Joe. Pleasure being here.